what have we got to cover for 9.0.5?
I'm not sure. Well, okay. Well, that's
There we go. The Hall of Fame is full. How very exciting.
that's a big story. Hall of Fame is full. Good.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, cross realm mythic. Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, apparently there's a lot.
So there is the patch notes to go through. Trying to work out what to really do. Okay, you know what? Let's do patch notes. Let's have a chat about them. With adventures, basically nobody cares, but the TLDR is they have balanced it a bit more. Is the mission table something you'll actually want to do? No, probably not. I mean, it is a very easy way. Install the Venture Plan. Venture Plan, by the way, it's the add-on to get from what I understand. Install that. Yeah, use some anima, but you get some stuff in return, and it's easy. That's the system. So we've got that. Then, actually, this is something that's good, interesting for me. I'm a hunter. It means I'm Night Fae, obviously, and it means I use Wild Spirits. That is a big ground effect. And one change that's actually coming in this patch is that Blizzard are, for other players, they are reducing the visual, just the visuals, I guess, of the likes of your Ashen Hollow, Abomination Limb, Swarming Mists, Death's Dew, Wild Spirits, those things. Now, I do have to wonder, does that mean there'll be more times where, I'll put my Wild Spirits down and then the boss and ads will move out of my Wild Spirits and I'll feel very sad because the tank won't know? Because, obviously a key part of tanking is positioning mobs so that your DPS players can actually get as much effectiveness as is possible.
Yes,
so
or doing the direct opposite. That's also important.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so sort of interesting change. As for the rest, it's essentially just more balanced stuff. I mean, some of them are interesting to me, like, Unbound Chaos for the Unholy DKs. That being viable could be interesting because that could open up a slightly different gameplay vibe. Yeah. I enjoy playing with it in beta. I don't know if anyone else did, though.
And is 500% up from 300% even enough?
Who the hell
knows? I think I'm not really super sure on the Havoc Demon Hunter situation, but as far as I can tell, they kind of have two builds, and I think that might have been one of them. But it's there's a lot of little changes that don't super matter very much, just kind of solving little problems as they've cropped up.
Yeah, look, I had a look through this before stream, and I think your TLDR of this stuff is, it's less about changing the balance of the game and changing the meta of the game, and it's far more about squashing the distance between the literally bad options that you're wrong for taking from a balance perspective and making those feel a little bit better. So, am I going to be using Flayed Shot as a hunter? No. But if I'm a hunter and I really want to be Venthyr, will I feel as punished for going as Venthyr? No, because that's getting buffed up. So, what do we got here?
So what we have here is, so they're doing a lot of balancing, but sometimes they're maybe not balancing super well. Windwalkers are generally not happy. So you'll see those fixes I have highlighted there. Basically a bunch of bugs that give them a lot of extra damage. That's really the super gist of it. And if it nothing to compensate that, and obviously an extremely good Windwalker monk will do a lot of damage, but they're generally a bit low comparatively, and they've just had what I think I might call accidental skill ceiling removed, in terms of how they use Starbirth and Fire, how they use how they keep marks up for the spinning crane kick stuff.
I guess it's like the difference between the mage during Legion, the frost mage who knows how to time and distance everything to get was it more ice lances?
It was the double ice lance at the right latency and distance, and obviously that was a degenerate play style that came from very specific things and resulted in a lot of extra damage. So obviously to solve that, I can't remember if they solved it at the end of that or some other way by changing things, but I know they obviously in the Shadowlands slight redesign to Frost, they did change that by making double ice lance the bona fide play essentially. So
yeah, it's that thing of whenever it just sometimes stuff does not exactly work how the devs intended, and you can use that, you can game it basically.
So it's
So
sad for Windwalkers. I think monks generally, outside of maybe brewmasters, they really do need to be thrown a bone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I used to main a monk. There is
Yeah.
a pretty obvious reason why I no longer main a monk.
Yeah.
The other thing then, so one of the things that has been redesigned is Fleshcraft.
Yes, Fleshcraft.
Where, basically it's going to be more usable in more situations than a thing that you kind of very much have to use in advance. That is the core of the change.
And again, it's a case where this is basically a terrifying change because it's really, really big.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. That's a 20% DR. Like a 20% DR channel that you can just pop whenever.
Kick the screen over to
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can channel it, reduce damage to 20%. For anyone who's taking, especially in the realms of high Mythic Plus and Mythic rating, that's the difference between life and death. That's basically way better for most situations than the other three, because obviously how they balance high stuff is unavoidable damage. So that is actually like, it's a case where I personally am afraid that this will overbalance and people will start ending up jumping over to Necrolord because they feel they need to. Because I mean, obviously as a Kyrian, the file is pretty handy for like emergency healing and stuff like that. But on Denathrius, I don't know how many weeks earlier we'd have had that kill on Heroic if I could have just popped an extra 20% DR whenever I needed to.
Yeah.
Versus the
Yeah,
file.
pretty big.
So it's like, obviously I'd have to use Vanquisher's Hammer and I'd rather not, but it's a case where there's maybe a little bit too much on that one specifically.
Yeah. But I mean, it being a bit more usable, that's definitely going to feel better for the Necrolords.
Oh, absolutely.
As we move through the other stuff, I mean, we did go through this, like Ember Court having less busy work once you get good at it. That's pretty neat. We've got Blizzard actually properly highlighting what's going on other than key bits of information, like how much Valor points do you actually get from doing a dungeon. It would be nice to see the actual intended amount in the patch notes.
Yeah, it's a case where I think if they're worried about players getting feedback early in the stages, because obviously they were they talk up the PTR process really big, and rightfully so. They do the same with their alphas and their betas. I think having it was entirely through the beta, and I think the alpha, where they were constantly saying, "Oh, you haven't seen the full picture," so you we kind of have to ignore some of your feedback until you see the full picture and can talk to us about it. I'm kind of falling a little bit into the same thing here, because it's even people who aren't playing the PTR, even like people who can check the patch notes, can easily go, sorry, your mathematics means this. We don't like that. Versus having to, wait till patch day and go, oh, here you go. Like,
yeah. And almost like kind of infinite struggle we've had is that one tricky thing of if we just knew the intent or maybe the numbers, what they're supposed to be, we'd be able to offer more targeted feedback, and that's not been possible. Now, there is one thing that has been, I think, dashed. One hope that's been dashed. So according to the data mining, there are actually upgrade levels up to item level 226. But if we look at here at the patch notes, you can see 220 item level requires the Keystone Master achievement. Now, does that mean that that's it? Surely, if 226 is where it could go to, they maybe mention something about that in these patch notes, but it's not here in the patch notes.
Yeah, you would hope so, at least.
So for those Mythic Plus players who are really wanting that and who are maybe looking at that data mining and feeling like, oh, maybe they've actually done it, it's not looking like it.
Yeah,
but it could easily be made that way in the future, because I mean those two upgrade levels do literally exist on the items. It's just if you bring those items to the vendor in game, they won't be displayed as an option. So who knows?
Yeah, I think that might be a case of maybe they're waiting to turn it on later. Maybe they're waiting to decide, do we make that achievement 20s? Do we make it 25s? Is that reasonable? I think they're a little bit struggling with that, I think. But
yeah, so overall, interesting situation. And if we're to wrap up this immediate breaking news sort of segment of the show, I think the TLDR is there's going to be more stuff in World of Warcraft pretty damn soon. So that's good. Mythic Plus players are going to be happy. Bunch of people in Covenants that are not meta picks, all going to be happy. Some class balancing is going to be moving in a better direction. That is all pretty damn good stuff. It's coming into the game pretty damn soon. Might not all be perfect, but it is thumbs up. We talk about issues and problems because those are often the more interesting things to talk about. They make better discussion, but we are literally moving in a better direction, and that is very good news. There's also a bit of good news for people like you and me, and also many of you who are watching because you like hearing about the current events in World of Warcraft. Blizzard did tell us that pretty soon after 9.0.5 leaves PTR, 9.1 will enter the PTR.
Yes.
And that does mean that soon we're going to know way more about Korthia, about domination gear from the Sanctum of Domination raid, about the lore, even the data mine broadcast text that can lead to some really fun lore speculations. That stuff is probably going to happen in March. So while you won't be able to play this new patch in March, at least some of that extended World of Warcraft enjoyment experience that comes from just being interested in the stuff that's going on, well, that's going to be happening. And I think that's overall pretty good news for a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not part of being, or if that's not part of being part of a community of a game, I don't really know what is. I mean, honestly, I think I spend more time on r/roll in Warhead than I do in game during the week, and I think that's not a knock on it in any capacity. It's like I'm actually super engaged with it, just maybe not in a way that looks good on their daily active users graph.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, for me, the thing that I really want to get into from a testing perspective is the new Torghast, whatever the hell that will be. I'm going to have to play a lot of that and really try to give feedback and help with feedback because, Torghast, if we were to poll in chat, I don't think it would be a popular thing. But we both know that it has got so much potential, and this is the only time. Mm-hmm. Because if they cock it up in 9.1, people they're not going to be willing to come back in 9.2 for Torghast. So this is their big shot to make it good. And I think they can. I actually think they understand a bunch of the problems, at least based on what Morgan said to me, and that does actually give me a little bit of the old hope.